Coach, is there a way that you've tried to accelerate the growth of these young guys through the preseason, playing so many young guys this year?
Yes, one thing, the rules really help us. They've relaxed the rules so we have more time with the guys in the summer and in the fall. And I think we've really tried to do as much as we can as a team and as a larger group so that we could have those guys be as ready as possible for game competition. So, I think that with more and more young guys probably playing around the country, I think those rules have helped everybody and certainly our team.
Hey, building on that, going into this first homestand, does last year play into your message to these guys and getting ready and being prepared and starting fast?
Yeah, definitely. We started so poorly last year, and I think we were, everybody was pretty surprised, and also, each individual guy has to have the expectation of the competition, not necessarily of, having a great game or winning or anything like that, but just an expectation of how high the level of competition is, how hard everybody works in college basketball, and what a challenge it is. So I feel like we've been talking about that, and hopefully that'll come through.
What expectation do you put on your players, bringing forth a new season?
Well, the biggest expectation is to practice as well as you can, to make sure we take care of every detail that we can, whether it be lifting weights or meeting times, just making sure that we're as prepared as possible so that we can be successful when the game comes. I think the higher expectations, I think, as we get into the season, we can talk about particular results or things like that. But right now, it's just making sure everybody takes care of what they need to do, and so that we can have a productive practice and productive meetings as we move forward.
How have they been able to, handle your offensive system, the new guys?
Yeah, so I would say the young guys really, I think what the trait that they most have in common is a really good feel for the game and a high basketball IQ. So I feel like that part has been not easy for them, but I don't think that has been as much of a challenge as some other things. I think understanding what we're trying to do and having a good feel for spacing and ball movement, I think these guys are pretty good in that regard and have handled that very well.
Hey, Chris, how do you balance keeping your best guys on the floor and keeping your best guys relatively fresh for the long haul?
Yeah, that is going to be a challenge, because we don't want to have we don't want to have too many times where more than one of those guys is on the bench. But those situations happen with foul trouble and with guys being tired and the pace of a particular game. So we're talking about that and working on making sure that we get different guys rest at critical times. And Jacob obviously played a tremendous amount of minutes last year, but Grant did also for a big guy, and so we need to make sure that when they get rest, it's valuable rest, and we'll work on that. And sometimes you can't help it in terms of you can't get them enough rest, but in terms of the long haul and the course of the whole season, we'll need to make sure that we can be as strategic as possible about getting them the rest without getting them out at the same time.
Are you doing things in practice along those lines too, to kind of, I hate to use the word pace?
Yeah, to a certain degree we are. Making sure that we're trying to get them out as much as we can in practice together, so that everybody else has to step up and realize how hard it is without them. We don't want to do that as much in the games, but yeah, we are trying to get those guys as many breaks as we can. For as crucial as they are, we also want to keep them as fresh as possible for the games.
Chris, does your defense concern you a great deal, given the fact that you had some issues in that area last year and you lost two good defensive players?
Absolutely. It's something we're working hard at. I feel like that we were pretty poor defensively last year, especially at the beginning of the year. I think by the end of the year, we were fairly opportunistic and we were better, a little bit more solid. But it's something that needs a great deal of attention. We've given it a great deal of attention, and I'm sure we're going to have to work hard all season long to improve that. But I would say, that the veteran guys are pretty good defenders and have a pretty good understanding, so that at least gives us a little bit of a head start there. But bringing on young guys defensively is a challenge for everybody.
Speaking of the veteran guys, how have you kind of seen them step up and lead some of the younger guys coming in?
They've been great. In particular, Nick, Jacob, and Grant have been really, really good. They're gym rats. They love to play. They love to compete. And they're also great about sharing what they know. So they've been really, really good and thankfully, they're ahead of their years in terms of where they are in school because they have really helped everybody a great deal.
You have Grant, a guy who obviously, you know, had that partial year and then a full year last year. How far him individually have you kind of seen him come? And you said they're playing beyond their years. I'm sure he's one of them.
He really is. You know, Grant, you know, to be all conference as a freshman in this league is really a tremendous honor. And he has really worked hard to improve. You know, he's very motivated. He really wants to be a great player. He works at it. You know, he doesn't just give it lip service. And we've seen that throughout the entire, you know, time we've been practicing. He is really motivated and really wants to be a great player.
What about Jacob? You put a lot on his plate
Yeah.
a year ago. How has he, I guess, developed
Yeah.
this going into his sophomore year?
Well, we put far too much on him last year, and he responded very well. You know, he's a really good player. He's not only talented, but has an exceptional feel for the game. And I think he's really taken all that in to be able to have a good start this year. And, you know, we ask a lot. Everybody asks a lot of their point guards, him in particular last year, the way that the season started. And so we expect great things from him because that's what he shows consistently, that he can not only handle it, but excel in difficult situations.
To follow up on that, were you even surprised that he was able to handle it so well in his first year?
I was. You know, if you go back, we've had a really good history of guard play here, and he had probably the most put on his plate from the first game on last season, and he did handle it very well. And like I said, you know, it's easy to get frustrated because you're knocked down so quickly, but he really kept at it and kept working hard and kept learning to the point that he was a really good player by the end of last season.
Going back to Sherrod as a gym rat, it's hard to pull him out of the weight room. How did that carry through throughout the whole season?
Yeah. Well, you know, I think Nick is really committed. He had a tremendous Atlantic 10 season last year. You know, percentages, statistically, he was tremendous. But he didn't have a great preseason. And I think he's really committed to making sure he has a good entire season this year. And you can just see it in the way that he approaches practice, the way that he approaches every single thing that we do. He's really dialed in and zeroed in and very motivated to do very well.